All right, looks like we're live. It is Wednesday, February 6th, 2019. Wednesday, February 6th, 2019. How in the heck is that even possible? I just feel like the 2019 is at a sprint pace right now. Oops. Anyways, I'm going to quickly share this on a couple of my other pages. And if you would like to do so and invite some friends, family, whomever to join in, they're always welcome. And then we will get started here in about 1.5 minutes. So while I'm doing that, if you have any questions at all about the last two lives, go ahead and type those in. And I'd love your feedback. Have the last two lives on Monday and Tuesday been helpful? Is there anything that needs to be cleared up? Have you been able to utilize it to make some positive changes, some positive shifts? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And then I'm just going to quickly share this on two more things, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So any questions, any feedback on the lives, it's always appreciated. Also, your interaction on these is really critical. So the more you interact, the more comments you put, the more likes you put, all those types of things. It helps the social media robots, whomever they are, populate it out to other folks. So feel free, do not be shy. Hit if there's something that resonates you, if there's comments you want to make, there's ahas, insights, ideas, all those types of things. Please, please, please contribute it because one, it gets it out to more people, and two, for those of us who are watching the replay, or for me when I come back through and check in on everything, I can get feedback that way, and then also I can answer questions, comments, and all that. Let's see who's on here. Oops, things taking a little bit to load up, so while it's doing that, let's see, what did we need to remind you all of? Update on our TED Talk. We are on our way to about almost getting closer to 1,500. So we're marching along. I need to get a few more views though to double the view count by the end of the week, which was my goal for this week. So if you've watched the talk, please, please, please go over there and leave a comment, leave a thumbs up if you haven't done so already. The more we get engagement on that, the more it's going to go out to other people, and the more that others can hopefully benefit from it. And if you haven't watched it, I just threw a link up there for you to access it. Let's see who's on here. Lisa, what's up, Lisa? Hey, Gail. Like a refresher course. That's awesome. Hey, Marie, good to see you on here. Kat, what's up, Kat? And let's see, what else do we have for updates? There is 1 or 2 strategy session spots that I had available have been taken. So if you like the last one, and this is for those of you who are really serious about coaching, want to utilizing it to help you as an added asset to get from where you are to where you want to be, you can grab that strategy session. You and I can sit down and meet and talk about how coaching can really be an impactful game changer for your life. And there's that link I just posted in there. I know what the other one was. So for Q&A tomorrow, are you all, if I put a post up on the main Facebook page, which actually maybe I could do that right now while we're talking, would you be open to going back to that right after we're done or sometime tomorrow and share and putting up your question for tomorrow's Q&A? Now, you don't have to attend live. You can still have your question asked, and I'd be happy to answer it then. But you can basically just submit your question there, and then this way it'll be all the questions will be in one specific place. So I'm going to put that post up right now, Thursday Q&A post. Please leave your questions in the comments. So all you need to do if you want to submit a question for that is it'll be the most recent post on my page, and just go and type them in there. And then also you can ask them live when we're doing the Q&A tomorrow, but I hope some of you will be able to make it for that. Hey, Jennifer, what's up? Sarah, what's up? Long time no talk. Yes, good to see you on here. All right, let's see. I think that's it for updates. So let's dive into today's topic, shall we? Let me just adjust this here so we can have a good audio. So what we're talking about today is how the opinions of others are one of the biggest obstacles to healing. How the opinions of others are one of the biggest obstacles to healing. So this is the third part of our kind of overview on healing from loss that we've been doing this week, and we'll have our Q&A tomorrow. And the reason why I wanted to touch on this today, because we've spent some time talking about this week some of the challenges to healing, some of the ways that we can alter our emotions, being clear on what our identity is, that we're not our emotions. They're things that we feel, but they're not who we are, and about how we can separate them, and also how we can shift that. But the reason why we're going to focus in on other people now is because I think with loss especially, most of us are going to have a lot of other people, and a lot's one of those loose technical words, right? A lot could be 3, a lot could be 30. It could be anything in between. It could be another one too. But we could have a decent amount of people coming into our lives, reconnecting with us, being a more physical presence than they normally would be around the time of loss. And many of these people be very well-intentioned, and many of them will also be mourning their own loss, processing their own emotions, expressing their own feelings, moving through their own grief. And inevitably during these kinds of times, especially when they're highly emotionally, highly charged times, people may say or express things that may or may not be in your best interest. And I wanted to talk about that because in my work I've done with healing and healing support, and I've been really fortunate to this point of being able to support and mentor, I would say, a couple thousand people now at this point from all over the world through their healing journeys, whether they've taken the Healing from Loss course or they've actually done coaching with me. And one of the biggest challenges, biggest obstacles I consistently hear people come up with is, okay, Jesse, this is great. I understand this. I can do it. I can take care of me. But how am I supposed to deal with all the other people? Because everybody seems to have an opinion. Everybody has an idea, an insight of what I should do, how I should be, what I should wear, what I should say, what I shouldn't say, so on and so on. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, right? Of being in that place where you're going through that initial time after just losing someone, and you're searching for answers. You're trying to figure out which way is up and which way is down, because you're so stuck in that washing machine of throwing you around sideways. And then you have, on top of it all, you have all the people who are telling you how you should think, how you should feel, why you should just get over it, why it's time to carry on, and how you need to get back out get back out there, and it might always be painful, or whatever the case may be. So remember what we talked about the last couple of days. I see a couple of you saying yeses. What we focus on is what we'll experience. What we focus on is what we'll experience. There is likely no time where we are more emotionally susceptible to influence and more emotionally vulnerable than the time after a loss, right? All of you on here who have experienced losses, you can attest to this too. You know that you are raw and vulnerable, and oftentimes in so much pain that you would do virtually anything and everything to get a break from that pain, to try to make things go back, to try to change things. And this could be after the death of a loved one. It could be after the end of a relationship. It could be a loss of an identity from going through an illness. It could be a sudden change in your career, whatever the case may be, right? So there's a raw vulnerableness. And when we're that emotionally vulnerable, when we're that emotionally susceptible to influence, it's often when this is the time when we may grasp at the proverbial straws, trying to find something solid to hold on to, some sort of solid ground that we can stand on to get our bearings and get ourselves back upright and figure out what we need to do next. It's at this time that it's often even just hard to breathe, and the basic things, the basic chores of the day, like brushing your teeth and combing your hair, can seem like damn near impossibilities. So when we have all these, when we have one person or a multitude of people giving us their opinions, and if we're really open and susceptible to influence, there's a dangerous dynamic here, and that dangerous dynamic is if they give you an attention, and if they give you an opinion, as well-intentioned as it may be, but if they give you an opinion that's one based on limitation, and you're in a state where you're emotionally vulnerable and emotionally susceptible to being influenced, and this is someone that you may tend to believe more often than not, that person has just influenced your destiny. That person has just influenced the next 6 months, 6 years, 60 years of your life. Because what they've done is they've offered you a suggestion, a thought of how things are going to be, of what the future will look like for you. And because you're looking for answers, because you're trying to figure things out, and because you don't have a blueprint or a paint by numbers of how you're supposed to handle this or what you're supposed to do, you take what they say, and it could be the gospel for all that matters. And then you start to do, believe, feel, and act in accordance with that. So remember, what we focus on is what we experience. We talked about this the other day, is if I have you focus on being happy, you can experience feelings of happiness. Your physiology changes, the language you start to use, what you notice changes. If I have you focus on being sad, it's the same. Here's a quick exercise we can do, and I encourage you all to do this. So I want you to just look around your room right now. Okay, look around the room, and I want you to notice in your room everything that's green. Just notice all the green. Maybe you have some green napkins, you have a green picture, maybe there's some plants. Just notice all the green. And then I want you to shut your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I want you to recall from memory everything in the room that's purple. And notice how difficult that is. See, it might be really challenging because what I was cueing you to focus on was focusing on the green. But now all of a sudden, you're being told to focus on the purple, but you were trained, your brain was trained to focus on the green. Now, if you kept your eyes closed and I said, go ahead and focus on the green, you could probably recall fairly great deal of accuracy exactly where the green was. You probably even had a blueprint, an image tattooed into your brain of all the green in the room around you. But there wasn't one in there for purple, is there? So if someone who may be a great person, maybe someone you love, someone you care about, tells you, hey, I know how hard this is and you're going to feel this way forever, they're basically telling you to focus on the green and you're going to see a lot of green, right? So what you want to do, what's really important with this, and I recommend you all doing this before you find yourself in a place where you're emotionally vulnerable or emotionally susceptible to influence. And it's to decide what you want to believe. Decide what you want to believe. What do you want to believe about loss? One of the hardest things for me in going through the first losses was that the uncertainty, the unknown, the feeling like I would never be able to connect with them again. I just missed them so horribly, and that I would never be able to experience love from them again. The emotions, right? That I was never going to be able to make new memories. And it made my healing process, especially with the earlier losses, much more challenging and much longer and more painful than they needed to be, because I didn't know what I wanted to get out of it. I just knew I didn't want to feel hurt, which is what most of us do, right? We will have this dichotomy where a part of us wants to go back and we wish we could go back, but in the present, more than anything, we don't want to hurt. We don't want to feel that pain anymore. The problem is what we think about is what we bring about, right? What we focus on is what we experience. And so if we're constantly focusing on pain, we're going to constantly experience more pain, right? And so here I was not knowing what I really wanted, other than I didn't want to hurt and I wanted the impossible, which was to have those people back. And it really prolonged and made my healing journey much more painful than it needed to be. What I've since learned is it's absolutely crucial to have some sort of guiding belief system to help you navigate through these challenging times. So for example, for me now, I fully believe that we can still connect with our loved ones, that we can still communicate with them, that we can feel their presence if we allow ourselves to. See, when we step out of the stranglehold of grief and we get past the presence of pain, we allow ourselves to tap into the emotional place of love, the place that most of us want to exist at, the place that most of us want to experience life at. And that was probably the place that we felt we forged the greatest bonds. We've created the greatest memories with our loved ones, if it's the end of a relationship or a death. Or it might also be a place of purpose, if it's an end of a career or a loss of an identity. And when we tap into these things, and if we have our beliefs that guide us, what can happen is when we start to get this influence of others, rather than being influenced by it and saying, oh, that's Bob, and I really respect Bob, and Bob's never led me astray before, and Bob's saying I'm going to feel like this forever, I must feel like I guess I have a long, hellish road to look forward to. But as opposed to saying, okay, well, here's Bob, and I really respect Bob, and I understand that Bob is giving me an opinion based off of what he believes, and Bob and I have different beliefs. We see life differently. We see life after death differently. We see the world differently. For crying out loud, Bob likes McDonald's and I can't stand McDonald's, right? So when we have that, it allows us a little bit of, what's the word? A little bit of break, a little bit of space where we can evaluate things and say, is this really what I believe? Is this really what this means? And then decide from there. Because then the other thing is once we get clear on what we want to believe, we can make it our mission before we find ourselves in dealing with loss or after, is surrounding ourselves with people who support our beliefs, people who share our beliefs. I have a free Facebook group called Moving Forward. And it's about a year old, and I created it just because I want to have a resource for people to go who have experienced loss and who are wanting to heal and move forward. And I wanted to just have something where it could be a really community focused on healing. And the reason I created this was because I was so frustrated with so much of everything out there being almost this kind of like grief empowerment, where it was almost like the more pain I feel, there would be this pissing contest of whose pain is more significant, whose pain is greater, right? Well, because you're not crying 10 times a day, it means you didn't love the person as much as I did. And you'd have these communities where people would just be feeding it into each other. How much did you cry today? How horrible do you feel? Whatnot. And I get there's probably some really positive, really well-intentionedness with that. But the challenge with that is that what we focus on is what we experience. And if we're sitting there and we're coming to the table with this focusing on grief, if we start to form bonds, if we start to form bonds with other people around being sad and depressed and grief stricken, guess what's going to happen? How are we going to form a relationship with that person beyond that? It's really tough to. So we have to keep those emotions, keep that pain as a present, so that way we can keep the relationship as it's been formed present. So the reason I wanted to have the grouping moving forward is because I wanted to create a community that was focused on healing, a group that was focused on moving forward. The course that I've been offering, healing from loss, I want it to be something that's focused on healing, it's coming with the intention of healing, mending, getting better, right? Not something where we're going to stew in this emotional space of just the pain. I fully acknowledge that we're going to feel this stuff, and we should, and hopefully you've all gotten that from this point, from the last couple lives. But what I don't want to do is I want somebody to sit in it longer than they have to, right? Because there's a difference between slipping and falling and landing in the mud versus just wait, I think I'm tongue-tying that, yourself to it because you believe you don't have another alternative. You do. If you got anything from the last two lives, it should be this, that you are the creators of your emotional experience. You're in charge of it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's going to take some work, but you are ultimately in charge. You're the creator of this journey that you're on. You're the creator of your emotional experience. You're the creator of your emotional quality of life. So you really want to make sure you're surrounding people who are holding the beliefs that you have in terms of how you want life to be. If you want to be able to experience happiness, joy, love, fulfillment, success beyond loss, find people who are going to want that too and be a part of that. The ones who are going to find them, that's really when it's going to be crucial for healing, because otherwise you're going to find yourself always ping-ponging back and forth off the opinions of others, and you're never going to get the tangible results that you really are after. Okay, does this make sense so far? Questions about any of this so far? I'm just going to scroll through the comments real quick and just check in and make sure. People have purple walls, purple and green walls. That's great. Green. Everything you say is true. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great comment, Paul. It's like the TED Talk focusing on your hand. Absolutely. Oh, I like stymie. That's a good one. Linda, I'm in Facebook jail with my like and emojis. They really put you in Facebook jail? God, I've been put in Facebook jail before. And I was like, gosh, I'm just trying to encourage people. And I got put in Facebook jail. It's totally believing to be with us. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So we're all on the same page. So I have a couple more minutes here, and then I want to open it up to questions and comments. So you have questions about this, go and start typing them in. And here's the last place I want to end on today, and this can be a big one for a lot of us. If you're not getting results from the people you're around, from the material you're reading, if you're engaged, if you're going through therapy, if you're going through some sort of treatment, whatever that is, change it up. Change it up. If you've done some of the exercises that we've done together these last few days, even the one today with what color are the walls, or what color, focus on the green and the purple around you, you will have had the experience of recognizing that in any given moment, including this one, you have options available to you in terms of what you can feel. That you can create a different emotional experience by shifting your physiology, shifting your focus, choosing different language. And so if what you're doing to try to help yourself, to heal, to move forward, to get beyond the pain and into the purpose and into the pleasure, then be bold enough and brave enough to change it up. This isn't to knock anyone out there. There is some amazing resources out there. There are some amazingly bad resources out there too. And there are some amazing people out there who are very well intentioned. But it may not be your cup of tea. You may not get the results you want. I was talking with somebody, a prospective client, the other day, and during the conversation, they were asking me some questions. I said, hey, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you this, which is the same thing I tell every single person who sits down with me and we talk about doing coaching. Make a decision to do coaching off of what you feel versus what you think. And the reason why is because if you feel in your heart that working with me is going to be what you need to do to move forward, honor that feeling. But if you don't have that feeling, honor that feeling and find someone else who does. I say that because if what you're doing is not producing results, now, a caveat about results, you want to be clear about what results you're after. Whether that's something as simple as just feeling a little better, being able to have a little extra energy to get out of bed, feeling a little bit more motivated, or feeling like you can start to pick up the pieces and take steps forward. Have a couple things to define it, that you can define, something that's measurable. And then if what you're doing is not producing the results, seek out someone or something else that can help support you with those results. There is no harm in changing things up, because at the end of the day, this is your life. This is your life, and you are the person who is going to be I was trying to think of a clever word, but for lack of cleverness right now, you're the one that really is a custodian of the quality of it. Even in the hardest of times, we have our emotions that we process, mourning, grief, which is important to go through. But then we also have the ability to start to create our experience beyond it. If it's the case of an end of a relationship, a death, a loss of an identity, an end of a career, it's finding a space within that to honor it, right? And if what you're getting is not the help to take those steps to honor the person, the people, or if what you're doing isn't supporting the journey to get to that place, you got to be willing to change it up. I do not want any of you to spend more than a second of your time watching these lives if you're not getting value from them. Change it up. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Sometimes I cuss too much. In fact, I've gotten quite a bit of feedback with that over the years, that Jesse, I love what you teach. I love everything you got to say, but I can't watch your stuff because you cuss too much. Okay. I wish you much success, happiness, joy, and fulfillment along the way, and send lots of love your way. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So remember that. Switch things up, explore, challenge yourself, challenge the norms. If there are people out there that you resonate with, professionals who you connect with, that you believe will help you, invest in them, invest in working with them, invest in a course they have, and dive into their content, get into their mind. It's worth it. There are mentors and guides out there who are here and literally could be put on this earth to help you at this very moment move forward from where you are to where you want to be. But you cannot find and connect with those people if you find yourself staying stuck and continuing to do the same things you've always done, listening to the opinions, the insights, and the, call it guidance of other people who are leading you down a path of stuckness and maybe more long-term suffering. We don't have to suffer. We don't have to suffer to feel grief. We don't have to suffer to mourn. We can feel the emotions, but we can still be happy. We can still pursue happy. We can still pursue success, joy, love, and fulfillment in our lives. We can still do those things as we feel those other emotions that come with loss. But it's going to be very hard to embrace and fully experience those things at the level that we could if we're not surrounding ourselves with and doing the things that are going to produce the results that we want in our life. They're going to help us do that. So that's what I have with you all today. I hope this has been helpful. What questions do you have? And really quickly, I'm going to scroll through and get some questions. So go ahead and start typing in questions, comments. Healing from loss. Remember, I am offering this. It's normally $297. I'm offering it to you all for $97 this week. For those of you who are attending the lives, and I would love for you to take advantage of this amazing course. And I don't say it's just amazing because I want you to take it. It really is. Of all the trainings I do, this is one of my absolute favorites because the nature of the subject matter is one that we're often not really willing to go into, but I have a curriculum laid out that if you follow it along and you implement the tools, the people who have done it have consistently said it's one of the most life-changing, but life-enhancing at the same time programs they've done, especially in the healing space. So I'd love for you to do that. If you want to know if it's right for you, send me a message. I'm happy to talk with you about it. One strategy session left this week. So if you want to grab that strategy session, message me or click that link to fill it out, and we'll get you on the calendar for that. TED Talk. Thumbs up, comment. If it's been of value to you, share it with somebody, message it to a friend or a family member. Any of you who are in other groups, maybe groups that focus on, there's a lot of groups out there on death, dying, moving forward, changing, life changes, life transitions. Perhaps talk to the moderator of the group and see if they'd be open to having you share that as a resource to the group. That'd be really awesome. So that's what I have for you all today. What questions do you have? And remember, remember that the Q&A post is on here now. So it's on the main Facebook page, the Jesse Brisendine Coaching. If you want to submit a question for our live tomorrow, our live Q&A, which will be at 1 p.m., you can pre-type them in, or you can show up for the live and just put your questions in there. All right. So what do we have for questions? Questions, comments. Has this been helpful? It's very helpful, very helpful. You don't sugarcoat. Yeah, no point in sugarcoating. It doesn't help. Me too. I spent lots of money. I wish I would have left, but I kept thinking the next session would make me feel alive and better. I spent money on so many things to eat that claim to help me. I just was so desperate. I feel I'm in a pressure cooker some days. Spent the morning at the cemetery today at 42 below zero. Yeah, there's a perfect example. I think a lot of us might find ourselves in that way where we try to buy ourselves out of pain. There's a lot of marketing that goes around that. The crux of the marketing is try to sell people the solution to their pain, because people will buy themselves out of the emotional pain before they'll buy themselves in the emotional pleasure. And there's a lot of truth in that. But I can't emphasize enough. Nobody should stay suspended and stuck in pain. But if you're not feeling, if you find yourself in that dynamic that you're thinking it's going to get better, it's probably not. You want to go by your feeling. If you feel the person, the program is the right thing for you, go with it. If you feel the Healing from Loss course is going to help you, go with it, because it will. If you feel like it won't, don't. It won't. If you feel like doing coaching with me is going to make a difference in your life, reach out to me. I don't bite. I really don't. And let's talk about it and get you going. And if you feel like it won't, please don't. But find somebody who can help you, can support you, who can serve as a guide along the way. It's really, really crucial that you honor those feelings, because that's where we really make the big shifts. Learned after my husband passed, I had to get help. And you're right, I tried a few things, support group therapists, some worked, some didn't. But you have to keep trying to heal yourself. Yeah, it's so important, Eileen. And I honor your journey for trying different things and going with that, because it's crucial to it. It's absolutely crucial. Oh, thanks, Kat. I believe you'll find much value in the Moving Forward group. Yeah, if any of you would like to be a part of the Moving Forward group, just put in the comments Moving Forward group, and I'll send you the link to get in it. Very helpful. Resonates. That's awesome. Question. How do you deal with immediate family that are providing toxic everything without suffering more than necessary? As well as having to deal with Ben's passing, I had to come to terms with the death of my mother, brother, and eldest son, in essence. Had I remained the worst would it be the end of my own life, the best suffering in hell for the rest of my life. So how do you deal with, let's look at that with how do you deal with immediate family that are providing toxic everything? One of the suggestions I would give all of you is to, if you find yourself in this dynamic of dealing with toxic people, especially if they're family members, and especially if it's around something like loss, is deal with them from a place of grace. Deal with them from a place of love. I don't know if any of you saw the Tom Brady video I posted, I think last week or the week before, but he was asked by this little kid, maybe the kid couldn't have been more than 7, 8, 9, 8 years old, or maybe even younger than that, 6 or so. And the kid asked Tom Brady, said, what do you do, with the bullies or the haters? And Tom Brady kind of got this goofy grin on his face and looked at him and said, what do we do with the haters? He said, what do we do with the haters? And he said, we love them anyways. We love them anyways. See, people who are toxic, who are negative, a lot of times they're just voicing their own frustration. They're vocalizing their own pain, their own hurt. They may have had goals, dreams, aspirations, visions of the future that they're realizing are never going to come true or never going to be the reality that they imagined they would be. And because they don't know what to do with that or how to handle that, how they project externally their own pain might come across as very negative or toxic. They also may be projecting because they're not wanting to deal with their own pain. They're not wanting to go deep. They're not wanting to deal with the dirt and the mud, because that can be really fucking scary for a lot of people. Which is why it's really powerful to make it a point to deal with those kinds of folks, and not even deal with them, but just address them from a place of grace. Receive them from a place of grace. And what that does is it allows us to recognize that this is a human being who's going through a human experience, who has their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own things. And what they feel is what they feel, but it doesn't have to be what I believe. It doesn't have to be what I take on, because here's what happens with toxicity. If we react to toxicity, then it breeds more toxicity. If someone says F you and we say F you back, it just escalates into this one-upsmanship of middle fingers. Nothing gets accomplished. We go into blaming, complaining, finger pointing. Nothing's going to challenge. The reason things get toxic in a hurry is because we start to interpret those people as being vile, toxic, and those types of things, because we're not allowing ourselves to see them from a place of grace. And when we see them with some grace, we interact with them from grace. We accept them from grace. Doesn't mean we like them. Doesn't mean we want to hang out with them. But what it does do is it lessens some of the emotional charge and some of our feeling of emotional responsibility to react and respond. Never thought of it in terms of fearing. Yeah, cool. And that's usually what happens. Kat said, I never thought about it in terms of them fearing their own shit and pain. I was too busy trying to understand why they were dumping it on me and blaming me. And that's very true for most of us. I think if we're really honest with ourselves, because we're in this place of, we don't have blueprints for this stuff, you all. We just don't. And so we're trying to figure it out. And we're a bunch of human beings trying to do the best we can with what we have at any given moment. And what we have available in those moments of loss and pain, it may not be our best. And so what comes out is not the most proud parts of ourselves, but we're humans. We're trying to figure it out. Always take the high ground. Wait, let me scroll on. Paul, I learned from you, Jesse, to use that loss and grief as positive in a way, as they would like to see. Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm not sad about it, but they would want that. I feel like I don't have a cloud over my head now. No drinking as well. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic, Paul. Congratulations. Thanks for sharing that. When my grandmother died, I was told to take on something she loved, so I baked cakes as she taught me to do this as a child. It worked. It made me feel good that she was still with me. Just thought that this is a good suggestion of yours. Yeah, that's so awesome, Tracy. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's really, that's the crux of the TED Talk that I have out is on that. Is it's finding those things that we know in our hearts, our loved ones would want us to do, and then really making the rest of our life about living in a way that would honor them. Because our loved ones, from their most loving place, will see us from a place of our best selves. And the best, and they would want the absolute best for us of what life has to offer. And if we make it a part of our life to do as they would want for us, which isn't to spend our lives sad, suffering, consumed by grief and guilt, but it really be to heal, to move forward, and to live in a way that honors them, we'll find that whether it's baking, whether it's doing what I'm doing, whether it's going down and joining a knitting club or picking up trash on the side of the road, or whatever it is that's unique for you and your special bonds, it is transformative in its healing ability. Good point. Healing oneself is crucial. I find I need to surround myself with supportive, positive people right now. Yeah, it is. And I would say, healing does not have to be a solo endeavor. That's why we have the Moving Forward group. That's why we have the Healing from Loss course, because you don't have to go through this alone. And if we do travel alone, I find that we're much more susceptible to influence, or most susceptible suggestion of others. Again, that doesn't mean what these people are doing is malicious. Many of them are very well intentioned. But if we're not intentional about the communities that we're a part of, then we will, unbeknownst to us, start to mold into the culture, the language, the dynamics of the community. And that could be a very detrimental thing to our long-term mental and emotional health. So this is why it's imperative to be intentional with this. All right. I don't see any other questions on here, so I think we'll wrap it up there. One strategy session left this week. Use that link to grab it. Healing from Loss. Only $97 this week. If you want it, you can use this link right here. And reminder, which one is that? Yeah, Healing from Loss. I just posted the Q&A feed for tomorrow. So if you want to submit a question to the live for tomorrow, you can do that. Just go onto the main Facebook page, Jesse Brisendine Coaching, and it should be the top post on there. And you can put your comments in there, tag a friend who might want to submit one too. And then if you don't put one in, you just want to show up and ask questions live, that's totally fine. But if you know what your question is going to be, please do it and put it in there, because what I'll do is I'll answer all the ones that have already been, I'll answer the ones that have been put in on Facebook first, and then we'll go to the live ones afterwards. Alrighty, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Thank you for your time, your energy. So many of you have been commenting and liking it. Huge thank you for that. Big thanks for those of you who have sharing it. As always, those of you who have been spreading the word about the TED Talk, getting it out there. So much love and appreciation and gratitude for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. And I hope this 3-part series on healing from loss has been helpful. I sincerely hope that many of you will dive into the Healing from Loss course, the Healing from Loss program. I think it is one of the most transformational trainings I have, and it can be a tremendous resource for yourself or for somebody else on their healing journey. And if you're free at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Pacific time, I'd love to join you. I'd love for you to join on the Q&A tomorrow. So with that being said, wherever you are, whether it's morning, noon, or night, remember, carpe diem, seize the day, seize the moment. You're